This is a briefing of the Global Solutions and Outreach Programs with a focus on the insurance and finance industries. This recording is from our briefing held on March 21, 2022. In total, 17 attended our March 17 briefing and this briefing today. My name is Tom Ream. Thank you for joining me and my colleagues today. This is the first briefing with prominent professionals in the insurance and finance industries. We will describe the importance of applying the wicked problem approach to figuring out best pathways toward resolving global warming. This is our agenda. We will first describe who we are and what we propose. We are engineers who are donating our time to this effort and have no vested interest. We're not skilled in insurance and finance. However, we have attempted to understand the risks that your industries are confronting in the face of global warming and its climate change effects. We look to you in the first discussion period today to give us feedback on our understanding of your risks. We will then play a video from Dick Hutchinson explaining the wicked problem approach and the global solutions and outreach programs. We will close today's briefing by inviting you to join us in promoting our global solutions and outreach proposal. I've been working on climate solutions for about 5 years with the American Institute of Chemical Engineers. About 3 years ago, I learned about another retired chemical engineer in Maine. Dick Hutchinson retired about 20 years ago after a career working for the U.S. Army. After Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons in Iraq's war with Iran and against the Iraqi Kurds in the 1980s, a chemical weapons convention was held in The Hague. On January 13, 1993, a treaty was signed to address the threat of chemical and biological weapons. In conjunction with U.S. participation in development of this treaty, Dr. Dick Hutchinson led a project for the U.S. Army to determine practical and effective verification measures for use under the treaty. Their work used the wicked problem approach. Dick co-founded the Stable Climate Group about 10 years ago. This group is one of many groups who sincerely want to help sort out our planetary problem. They are mostly retired engineers and scientists. In 2019, Dick Hutchinson's book on applying the wicked problem approach to global warming published. Now a little about me. I spent my career in oil and petrochemicals as a design engineer, a research engineer, an investigator of industrial accidents, and finally working in risk-based process safety. I spent my first 67 years ignoring global warming. I was aware of the concern expressed by some, but I didn't bother looking into it. Then everything changed. It's a long story. The bottom line being that I and 3 colleagues proposed formation of a climate solutions community to the board of directors of the American Institute of Chemical Engineers. They approved our proposal in October 2018. The community was launched by AICHE press release in March 2019. In July 2019, a colleague of mine, Professor Phil Westmoreland of North Carolina State University, heard about Dick Hutchinson's work on climate solutions and recommended I engage with him. From mid-2019 through 2020, Dick and I had many conversations. Early last year, I hosted several webinars where Dick presented the wicked problem approach for making better decisions on climate solutions. We must have practical and effective solutions to solve global warming. There are many ideas about how to solve our planetary problem. Many people are very busy working on climate solutions. Are we solving the problem? No, we're not solving it. Our international global solutions and outreach programs are designed to assist ongoing work by using the wicked problem approach to assemble the large number of climate solution puzzle pieces into practical and effective national, regional, and global action plans. These are the objectives of the International Global Solutions and Outreach Programs. Halt CO2 release and adapt, stabilize the Earth's energy balance, adjust with direct air capture, correct ocean acidification, and address other associated problems, and improve climate monitoring and modeling. Our meeting objectives today are to share our vision and to discuss the risks of global warming as we understand them in the insurance and finance industries. We hope that some of you will catch our vision and join us to help us develop a plan to move our vision forward. That vision does entail considerable funding of our proposed global solutions and outreach programs. I'll discuss that in more detail. Our development committee primarily consists of engineers and scientists. We are very concerned about decisions now being made to resolve global warming. We are all donating our time on this initiative. We're seeking additional collaboration from the insurance and finance industries. That is why we've invited you here today. We have 4 active impact sector teams. An impact sector is any aspect of our economy and society in the United States which has been or will be significantly affected by global warming. 4 of us are here today. Actually, is Gopal here? Maybe he'll show up later. I hope. Anyway, 4 of us are here today. Gopal might not make it. Balaji Ramareo is a senior project manager at Universal Pegasus International. Their expertise is project management, engineering, procurement, and construction management for the energy industry. Gopal Salvati is the founder of Anedsis and principal consultant working in education and engineering services with a focus on aerospace testing and environmental issues. Gopal previously worked as a consultant for Chrysler and Ford, Teledyne in aerospace, and Dow Chemicals in environmental. Eric Townsend is a chemical engineer, recently retired from a career in oil refining, petrochemicals, and supply chain. He has worked for such well-known companies as UOP in petroleum technology, Zytel Corporation in petroleum and petrochemical pilot plants, and Mars Wrigley in confectionery supply chain. My name is Tom Ream. I retired in 2009 from Saudi Aramco. Earlier in my career, I worked at UOP and Amoco. My entire career was in oil and petrochemicals. We have another member of our development committee joining us today. Bob Romero is a member of our Climate Actions Organization Sector Impact Team and a member of our website improvement team. As my co-host today, Bob is ensuring that our briefing runs smoothly. Thank you, Bob. Now Eric will make a little bit of the presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Tom. All right, so this diagram is a simple schematic of the wicked problem approach, and it shows the structure of how it goes. You can see 4 solution units and work teams who evaluate various options, and a main advantage of this wicked problem approach is it taps human potential to solve very complex problems. So in the diagram, you see these teams identifying and evaluating options, and these results are integrated into a satisfactory system. If not satisfactory, the results are iterated back to the original teams for further work. When the result is a satisfactory system that is technically effective, economically supportable, and socially politically acceptable, it is considered a final result. In Dick Hutchinson's U.S. Army work in the 1990s on chemical and biological preparedness, previously mentioned by Tom, Dick led almost 300 personnel to a satisfactory system using the approach described on the slide. In the early 2000s, Dick and 20 others applied this wicked problem approach to successfully sort out issues in dispute for his hometown municipality in Maine. In 2019, he published the book, People's Assessment of Global Warming, showing how to apply the wicked problem approach to global warming. You can see the cover of his book in the lower right-hand corner of the slide. Tom learned of Dick Hutchinson in 2019, and what we are presenting to you today is the culmination of Tom's interaction with Dr. Hutchinson since then and the efforts of 30 additional colleagues. Balaji?
Yeah, we will be discussing the proposed US work within Global Solutions and Outreach Program and how we use the wicked problem approach to figure out the best paths forward to resolve global warming. The left side shows the circle and spoke diagram on the Global Solutions Program and how the solution work and teams work in different aspects concerning technical, economical, social, and political areas. The evaluation and the integration team interacts with all the solutions work team for a practical approach. The right side shows the circle and spoke diagram on the outreach program. The outreach program works on the geographical areas and interacts with the integration team. The solutions and outreach program integration teams work together and iterate to arrive at an optimal solution. The logo below shows the global handshake, and that's our logo on the GSOP. The upper figure depicts how the wicked problem approach will work, showing the iteration. The circular arrows shows all the iterative steps like identify and analyze, evaluate options, and integrate options, considering technical effectiveness, economically supportable, and socially and politically acceptable areas. So that's what it shows in the quadrant. We use this iterative process to arrive at a satisfactory condition.
Thank you, Balaji.
Thank you.
Our initiative is working to fund the U.S. work within the global solutions and outreach programs. Other nations must do the same, as of course it will take an international effort to figure this out. Each nation will have its own global solutions and outreach programs. The three objectives of this international effort are to halt CO2 release and adapt to ongoing climate impacts, stabilize and adjust the Earth's energy balance to halt warming, and return to prior conditions and provide engineering support to states, local communities, and industries acting on global warming. The United States will lead this international effort. Some people think that the objectives of the Paris Climate Accord are already being met by nations around the world. I don't think that's happening. This is a March 22, 2022 update of the Climate Action Tracker showing progress by each nation in achieving the goals of the Paris Climate Accord. The scale ranges from black, which is critically insufficient, to green, which is 1.5 degree Paris Agreement compatible. As you can see, there's no green on the map. In fact, there is very little yellow. Almost all countries are either insufficient, highly insufficient, or critically insufficient. The United States is insufficient. We are not making the progress that must be made to avoid the devastating consequences of global warming. Our proposal will use the wicked problem approach to minimize influence of vested interest, both corporate and career, public passions on climate solutions, and political agendas through an engineering wicked problem approach. Our proposal for the U.S. work is detailed at our website. This is a major effort. However, if humanity does not figure out how to solve our planetary problem, trillions of dollars annually are at risk. The costs are so high that we're only going to have one shot at solving this problem. We must do it right. Our sector team initially began looking only at the insurance industry. None of us are professionals in the insurance industry. This is our best summary of risks to our understanding of those faced by the insurance industry. The reference is one of several sources of information on risks that we found. In putting this together, we realize that the finance industry shares most of these risks. So let me comment on our understanding of risk to the insurance industry from climate change. We need your expertise in framing out these risks before we reach out to a larger audience. The first major area of risk is insurance underwriting. When I was a senior loss prevention engineer at the 500,000 barrel per day oil refinery in Ras Tanura, Saudi Arabia, I recall visits from insurers at the refinery to determine the level of care being taken by the refinery to prevent catastrophic scenarios. This certainly must be a consideration in underwriting policies, which could be significantly impacted by climate change. Another example, if the Texas ERCOT electric grid had gone black in February 2021, it would have taken several weeks to restore power, which would have been devastating to Texas and to those providing insurance coverage. At an ERCOT board meeting on February 24 of last year, ERCOT said that we were only 4 minutes and 37 seconds away from losing all electric power in the grid. The second major bullet on this slide presents a thought by the 4 senior McKinsey and Company partners, namely, that decisions in the insurance industry cannot be avoided when it comes to the energy transition. There is obviously an advantage for those who make the best decisions. The last bullet on this slide goes into that thought in more detail. A lot of investment money is at risk, a major aspect being investments in assets that could be stranded. As our team was putting together our thoughts, it occurred to us that the second and third major bullets also apply to the finance industry. Removing the risks of underwriting coverages from this slide, we think everything else shown here are risks to the finance industry. So before we go into discussion, I want to take a poll. Let me see if I can pull this up. And well, let me explain it first. Okay, let's see. Okay, here, I'll explain it first. So I'm going to ask you 4 questions. They're each structured the same way. How concerned are you that a type of human bias has a detrimental effect on resolving global warming? And these are the types of biases that we believe affect decisions on climate solutions. Corporate vested interests, career vested interests, public passions, political agendas. Corporate, on the corporate, if I sink $1 million into something, you better believe I'm going to promote that climate solution. On career, if I'm an academic and have had a line of research for my entire career, you bet I'm going to promote that solution. And the other is obvious, public passions. There are a lot of large advocacy groups. So for each question, these are your choices. I'm not concerned at all. I'm concerned, but I don't think it's anything to worry about. I'm very concerned, but it's I think this what we have in place is going to alleviate that problem. I'm very concerned, and I don't think we're going to solve the problem. So let me put up the poll. Oh, those on the GSOP team don't take the poll. This is for everybody else. Everybody's taking the poll. So let's take a look at it. So let's see. Well, this is very illuminating. I didn't want the GSOP team to take the poll, but it seems like on the first question about corporate vested interest, you're in agreement with us, 5 out of 6 of you. The original Zoom recording on March 21 did not include the results of the poll. So this is an edit of the recording to present those results. These are the 4 poll questions. 6 attendees took the poll. The members of our impact sector team did not participate in the poll. We would have all selected the 4th choice, as we are concerned that systems now in place will not minimize the detrimental effects of any of these human biases. Our concerns seem validated with this poll, as most of the 6 attendees agree with us. Nobody selected the 1st choice, so there was unanimous concern that human biases have a detrimental effect on resolving global warming. Okay, so Dr. Dick Hutchinson prepared a recording to explain the global solutions and outreach programs in greater detail, and I'm going to play that recording.
Greetings, I'm Dick Hutchinson. Dr. Tom Rim and I are partners in this initiative. Please let me pull up my slides. My purpose here is to explain our wicked problem approach and how we will use it in the international global solutions and outreach programs. Our overall goal is to empower and enable the world's young people to successfully overcome global warming. If you are young or have children or grandchildren, please take what we have to say personally on their behalf, because it is of concern for the young that bring us here today. I'll start with the wicked problem approach. We begin the wicked problem approach by brainstorming a problem diagram. Participants use the diagram to orient and guide the problem-solving effort. The study goals at the top state what the problem-solving effort is to accomplish. The end state goals are the broader benefits gained by accomplishing the study goals. Problem elements are gaps, barriers, and questions that must be addressed to meet the study goals. We divide these into technical, economic, and social political elements. Solution work units are the efforts required to overcome the problem elements. These work units must be executable tasks for engineers and other specialists. We often prepare problem diagrams in simpler format as long as the above 3 tiers and content are maintained. Here we show the steps and teams used to carry out the wicked problem approach. Separate teams will analyze all solution work units simultaneously. The evaluation team then evaluates each option on technical, economic, and social political factors. An integration team combines the options into a system considering the evaluation results. The process is repeated until a satisfactory system is found. Thus, this is an iterative approach. The final satisfactory system must be technically effective and feasible, economically supportable, and socially, politically acceptable, and meet the study goals, at which point the problem is solved. Now let's turn to the global warming problem. Here we face a number of constraints. We must accept that the Earth is one integrated system with one part affecting many others. For example, Arctic warming melts sea ice and allows more solar energy to be trapped by the open water, resulting in further warming. Also, the Earth is a physical entity that can only respond in accordance with the laws of nature, ignoring our desires and even our survival. Thus, we must solve global warming at the scale of Earth and on Earth's physical terms. However, we humans must be able to survive the solution. We must find practical solutions that we can implement while coping with climate change impacts. Further, global warming is a wicked problem with a mix of technical, economic, and social political factors tangled together. These problems require special approaches as normal step-by-step methods do not work. Solving this most complex and threatening problem ever faced will require tremendous energy, boldness, drive, and hard work. These realities cannot be ignored. We have to deal with all of them together in order to successfully overcome global warming. So here's our strategy. Within the Global Solutions Program, we will have 3 people's projects. We call them people's projects because the people must be involved and everyone will be impacted by the solutions. The first project will evaluate available options to halt the net release of CO2 and cope with unavoidable climate change impacts. It will be conducted by national teams. The second project will evaluate available options to stabilize and adjust the Earth's energy balance to halt warming and return to acceptable conditions, and to address ocean acidifications and other problems such as methane release. It will be conducted by international teams, each focusing on different options. The third project will evaluate options currently in R&D to meet the goals of projects 1 and 2. It will also be conducted by international teams, each focusing on different R&D options. The outreach program will provide engineering support to states, local communities, and industries that are taking action on climate change, thus enhancing their vital efforts. The Global Solutions and Outreach programs will be closely linked to exchange results, good ideas, and social political evaluations. To cope with this wicked problem, we will use the proven wicked problem approach that I just described. Lastly, we will hire and train young engineers, economists, social political experts, and other specialists in their 20s and 30s to lead and execute the Global Solutions and Outreach programs. Why so? Well, they have the requisite energy, boldness, and self-interest drive necessary to do the job, and they will be here to implement the solutions. Also, they are not addicted to business as usual. We propose that the U.S. initiates the Global Solutions and Outreach program first, and then invite other nations to join the work by setting up their own Global Solutions and Outreach programs. Let's now turn to our flow diagrams to see how the Global Solutions and Outreach programs will actually work using the wicked problem approach. Here is a flow diagram for People's Project 1 for Nation A by way of example. This project will be executed by national teams in Nation A. Engineering analysis teams will analyze all available options to halt CO2 and to cope with climate change impacts. Separate engineering teams will analyze each type or group of options, such as wind and solar energy. Here we show 3 teams. There will be dozens of options requiring evaluations. We have identified 130 options to date for the 3 people's projects. All options will be investigated simultaneously. These engineering assessments include feasibility, effectiveness in meeting project goals, environmental impacts, scale and timing to implement, capital and yearly costs, net energy, human and natural resource requirements, and availability. After the initial analysis, the options will be evaluated and integrated into the nation's action plan. Successful action plans must be technically feasible and effective, economically supportable, and socially, politically acceptable. If the initial action plan does not achieve these requirements, the process is repeated until a satisfactory action plan is obtained for Nation A. Other nations will go through this same process with their Global Solutions and Outreach programs. Now, let's see how the other two people's projects and the outreach program will all work together. Here we show People's Project 1 in a simplified way with its national teams. People's Project 2 uses international teams to evaluate available options to stabilize and adjust the Earth's energy balance and address ocean acidification. Nation A and all other nations will participate in evaluating options on the national teams. In this way, the best minds from around the globe will work together in evaluating these different options. The results from People's Project 2 will feed back to each nation where the options will be evaluated and integrated into their national action plan. People's Project 3 will evaluate new technologies currently in R&D to meet Project 1 and 2 goals. Again, international teams will be used with all nations working together to evaluate new technology options. Results will again go back to each nation for evaluation and integration. The outreach program is performed by national teams to provide engineering support to ongoing climate efforts. An active link between the nation's outreach program and its Project 1 will exchange results, good ideas, social political evaluations of options, and pilot testing. A resulting satisfactory national action plan for Nation A will thus integrate the results from People's Project 1, 2, and 3, and from the outreach program, thus achieving broad national and international input. The nation's satisfactory action plan must be technically feasible and effective, economically supportable, and socially politically acceptable. On this diagram, we show how the national action plans will then be evaluated and integrated into regional action plans, such as for North America and Asia. The regional plans will include estimates of regional net CO2 release and contributions to stabilizing and adjusting the Earth's energy balance, to address ocean acidification, and to coping with climate change impacts. The plans will also include total regional costs, economic sustainability, and social political acceptability. International teams from the nations within the region will perform the evaluation and integration. All the regional action plans will then be evaluated and integrated into a global action plan. The global plan will include estimates of global net CO2 release, global contributions to stabilizing and adjusting the Earth's energy balance, and to addressing ocean acidification, and to coping with climate change impacts. International teams from the nations within each region will perform this global evaluations and integration. A successful global action plan must be successful on Earth's terms to successfully halt net CO2 release, stabilize and adjust the Earth's energy balance, and address ocean acidification. It must also be economically supportable and socially, politically acceptable, and have global ability to cope with climate change impacts. If the global action plan does not initially meet these goals, then each nation will revise their action plans and the process repeated until a satisfactory global action plan is arrived at. This iterative approach will keep each nation in charge of its own action plan while allowing nations to determine if their total efforts will successfully overcome global warming at the scale of Earth. I think you can appreciate that the international global solution outreach programs require a great deal of work. That is why it will take a small army of engineers, economists, socio-political experts, and other specialists. We estimate that 380 full-time and approximately 3,000 part-time participants will be needed in the U.S. and cost the U.S. $350 million over 3 years. Other nations will need to support their own global solutions and outreach programs. The end result of these international global solutions and outreach programs will be, first, practical national, regional, and global action plans to guide future efforts that will actually solve global warming, and engineering support to states and local communities and industries to enhance their vital ongoing climate work. As I mentioned before, our overarching goal is to empower and enable the young to lead and accomplish these efforts in their own self-interest. We will empower the young by securing the funds needed to hire and pay them within the U.S. We will enable them by training them to use the Wicked Problem approach, orienting them on program plans, and mentoring and assisting them through the program startup year with our donated time. Even more, these young people, through their intense work, will become vital national resources to implement the action plans. The best way to understand and overcome a problem is to work on it. I hope that you now have a better understanding of how the global solutions and action outreach programs will be accomplished and how the national and international parts will all work together. Thank you.
So Dr. Dick Hutchinson is the expert on the Wicked Problem approach. Those of us here today have learned from Dick the technique. We haven't practiced it, but we've learned from him in webinars last year. Now, we want to move forward in the insurance and finance industry to promote our proposal. But we engineers don't think that we understand the risk as well as we ought to. So that's why we'd like to have your help. Please consider joining our insurance and finance industry impact sector team. We are engineers confident that we must use the Wicked Problem approach to minimize the detrimental effects of corporate vested interests, career vested interests, public passions, and political agendas. We cannot continue going down that road. We must figure out the best combinations of climate solutions nationally and regionally. The Wicked Problem approach can accomplish this. You can contact me directly at tom@tomream.com. Thank you.